Whilst the draw of Star Citizen is for many no doubt the ships, no matter the career path you choose in the game, you will at some point or another find yourself with boots on the ground and in need of a weapon to defend yourself. But with so many to choose from, which weapon is the best for the job? In this video, we'll cover all the statistics that you need to know for the various FPS weapons in the game, as well as how things such as distance of engagement play a part in the decision process. There will be a lot to go through here, so timestamps have been included if you just want to skip to a particular part. Additionally, if you want to go through the data for yourself, we have of course included a link to a Google Sheet in the description with all the numbers for you to take a look at. So, with that out of the way, I'm Sean from wesmallband, and welcome to A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Verse.
Quantum travel initiated.
Before going into the data, I need to quickly address that some of this data has been merged and some isn't actually in the game files, rather it's being calculated by us. The reason for the merging is to simply make things easier to read. For example, there's no difference in how different damage types impacts players currently, so for simplicity, these were all merged into one value. Now to cover the categories themselves. Ammo count is, as its name suggests, how much ammo is in a single magazine. Alpha damage is how much damage a single round from the weapon will do at point blank range. Effective range is the maximum distance at which a round will still do the same amount of damage as if it were at point blank. Drop per meter is how much damage the round loses for every meter it travels past its effective range. Maximum range is the distance at which a round does its minimum damage. Now this was calculated by us and is a product of the effective range, damage drop per meter, and minimum damage. Finally, minimum damage, which we've called max range damage, is how much damage a round does at its maximum range. Now this value can be a little misleading, so I'll explain. If the value is 0, then past the maximum range the weapon does no damage. If the value is still above 0 however, say with the coda at 2.5, then it means past the maximum range it will still do 2.5 damage on a hit. Onto the actual firing characteristics, these have been split into 3 blocks based on the 3 firing modes that weapons can have, being single fire, burst, and rapid. RPM is how many rounds a weapon can put down per minute, and in a single fire mode is just how quickly you're allowed to press the mouse. Pellets only really applies to shotguns and is self-explanatory. Minimum spread is how far from where the barrel is pointed a round or pellet will deviate when the weapon is fully settled. Maximum spread is the same, but under constant fire. DPS is, well, it's DPS, it's everyone's favourite number. Keep in mind however that DPS doesn't account for reload times, as unfortunately we were unable to find these. If you want to really spend time theory crafting, then we would again recommend that you take a look at the Google Sheet linked below. If you just want to see at a glance which weapon is for you, then here it comes. Do keep in mind that the following graphs only show the metrics people are most likely to care about, and some have been merged just to make it easier to digest. Also, I need to stress that the numbers in the charts aren't the actual figures, rather these have been normalised. In other words, everything has been made to be between 0 and 100. For this reason, using these charts to compare weapons of 2 different categories is a no-go. Let's start with the sidearms. Pistols have the most choice in Star Citizen, with everyone starting the game with a trusty Arclight pistol at their hip, and honestly, this is actually a pretty solid starting point. With the highest magazine capacity, decent accuracy, unlimited range thanks to its laser munitions, and an alpha damage comparable to most other sidearms, there's no real reason to change this weapon out. The exception of course is if you want the highest amount of damage possible from a single shot. Both the coda and the salvo are capable of a one-hit kill from a headshot at 25 meters on a lightly armored target, with a charged shot from the salvo able to end even a heavily armored foe. If you plan to make every shot count, these weapons are a good choice. Just remember to keep count of your shots. As for the Uberev, don't bother, unless you intend to stun lock the target. Onto SMGs, my personal weapon of choice. As the Custodian and the P8 both have 2 firing modes, both are going to be shown here twice to ensure the fairest comparison. When it comes to SMGs, it's fairly difficult to recommend a specific weapon. In theory, the Lumin 5 with its great accuracy, unlimited range, and class-leading DPS and alpha damage is the weapon of choice. However, it's restricted to a burst fire mode which can feel clunky. If you prefer to saturate the target with bullets at close range, then the C54 is the one to pick. Past 20 meters, however, its damage rapidly drops off, making the Custodian, a fantastic all-rounder anyway, the one to go with. To sum up, if you're happy with a 3-round burst and you can make each shot count, the Lumin 5 is the best choice. If you want to go full auto, C54 for tight spaces, Custodian for open. Unfortunately, the P8SC in the current build just is not competitive, and therefore it should never be taken. The other close range weapons, the shotguns, are a little simpler. The exception is the R97, which has 2 firing modes, each of which will be shown separately. Shotguns differ, however, in that they don't so much have a preferred situation, rather they play to different styles. If you don't care about range and you just want to do the absolute most hurt possible with a single trigger pull, then the Devastator is the weapon for you, capable of blowing your target's brains through the back of even a heavy helmet, so long as you're point blank, that is. With an effective range of only 4 meters, you need to wait until you see the whites of their eyes before committing to the shot. If you want to get off as many shots before reloading as possible, then the Ravager is the weapon of choice. Want to get the highest DPS possible, whilst peppering the target with enough buckshot to make a sponge seem watertight? The R97 in its high RPM widespread mode, or even the tight spread mode if you want to pack a slightly bigger wallop every pull. The BR2 is the weakest choice here, albeit by a small margin. It ties with the R97 for the highest accuracy and range, however for shotguns these metrics aren't important. And with the second lowest DPS, middle of the pack ammo capacity, and the lowest alpha, it's hard to recommend. There are only 4 rifles currently available in Star Citizen, although the lack of variance is compensated for with the sheer number of firing modes, with only the S71 being locked to single round fire. Because of there being simply too much to show in one image, we'll be splitting the rifles based on firing modes, first looking at single fire. The Kana takes the lead in accuracy and edges out a win in terms of alpha damage, however the S71 is close enough to call it a draw in terms of punch. However, neither puts enough damage downrange to make the kill with a single shot, and so the superior range, higher minimum damage value, and potential fire rate makes the S71 a better proposition. With that said, if you're after a marksman rifle, either will fit the bill pretty well. If you want something with flexibility, however, then the S71 is out. Moving on to the burst mode, and the Kana again comes out on top in terms of pure damage throughput, thanks to its high alpha damage and equal RPM with the competition. The Gallant makes a strong showing, however, thanks to its unlimited range, class-leading accuracy, and high-capacity magazines, meaning it can put the most damage down before needing to reload. The P4AR sits squarely between the two in terms of DPS, accuracy, and effective range. Finally, we have rapid fire, where the story remains much the same. The Kana has the highest damage throughput, with the Gallant having the highest range and the P4AR balancing between the two. So which to take? If you need a high capacity marksman rifle at a 50 meter engagement distance, then take the S71. If you intend to use the weapon in active engagement, however, we'd take the Kana for fights up to 40 meters wide, the P4AR up to 80 meters, and the Gallant for anything beyond that. On the subject of range, let's talk snipers. There are 5 to choose from, although we will be showing the Arrowhead twice due to its ability to fire both charged and uncharged shots. Let's first address the AO3, the Scalpel, and the ATSCAV, which are less sniper rifles and more long-range marksman weapons due to their lower alpha damage and effective range. If this is your need, the AO3 wins on its excellent ammo capacity and superior fire rate. However, the Scalpel remains more steady under constant fire, making it more user-friendly. The fire rate and the alpha damage of the ATSCAV are just too low to consider, however, unless you intend to stunlock your target. The real competition in this sector then is the Arrowhead and the P6LR. Now whilst the Arrowhead packs the biggest punch, this is only when it has been charged up first, which consumes 3 ammo, giving you less shots overall. This also makes it difficult to shoot reactively due to the 2-second charge time. The P6 then packs the biggest punch for quick, single shots, so long as the target is within 500 meters, where thanks to its unlimited range, the uncharged Arrowhead takes over. Incidentally, this actually makes the Arrowhead the only FPS weapon in the game capable of dealing a single killing blow at 600 meters to a heavily armored target. So which to take? For 200 meter engagements with a lot of targets, the AO3. Up to 500 meters with specific targets where they're going to be moving quickly or they're going to be hard to track, take the P6LR. Long range or pre-planned sniping, the Arrowhead. Let's take a look at LMGs next. The massive monstrosities all about saturating the battlefield with as many rounds as possible, not just killing your targets, but pre-mulching them for the compost heap. As these weapons are all about putting down as much fire as possible, the graphs may lead you to think, okay, well the F55 does the most DPS, so that's the one, right? Well, actually not always. Whilst the F55 does have the highest DPS, it's also the quickest to clear its magazine, meaning it actually spends less time providing area denial, which is a major strength of these weapons. Additionally, it also has the highest spread under fire, meaning at longer distances the additional accuracy of the FS9 may put it on top. But why would you ever consider the Demeco with less than half the DPS? The answer is damage drop. At 220 meters, both the FS9 and the F55 are doing half the DPS, putting them on par with the Demeco, which suffers no damage penalty at range. Anything past 220 meters then, and the Demeco actually does more damage. So the choice of LMG really comes down to the distance and openness of engagement. Less than 250 meters and an open battlefield? Gemini is your friend. Lots of cover for the enemy to hide behind? Give Bearing a call. Long range engagement? Klaus and Werner. Finally, we have the special weapons. There's nothing really much to show on these, although we can say that the railgun fully charged hits for 3000 damage, which is enough to destroy an unshielded ship that's smaller than a cutlass, and the missile launcher will strike for 1100 damage. As for the grenade launcher, grenades will deal 10 damage if you hit your target on the noggin, and another 16 once it explodes. So to wrap up then, what weapon should you take? Well, the answer to that is entirely down to the situation that you're going into. CIG have done a pretty good job overall of balancing weapons, and whilst all are viable in any given situation, there are obviously standouts. My personal loadout is a Salvo, C54 and Kana, as in the current state of the game I mostly find myself engaging in closed areas and never beyond 50 meters, so that covers all requirements. On the odd occasion I do find myself prepping for a long range fight. I go with the Arclight, Custodian and P6LR. Although with draw distances now exceeding 2 kilometers, I may well switch that P6 for the Arrowhead. Of course, this is just my own loadouts, and there are many others that will work just as well, if not better depending on the circumstance. But what are your go-to weapons? Does this information maybe change your view on a specific weapon? Let us know down below. Now this video took a long time to make, as there was a lot of information to not only find but to sort through, so whilst there please do like, sub, share, etc. And with that, we thank you for watching, and we'll catch y'all next time.